Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Monday, March 10th, coming at you live. We got Corey Connor, Sustainable Packaging Podcast host.
Good morning.
What's up, buddy? How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Amazing. I got wind chimes in the background. I'm in Florida. I'm in
love
sunny,
it.
cloudy, extremely humid Florida. Our buddy Adam Peak, host of People Packaging Podcast, he's not in today. He's on the road at the TLMI. Is that what it is?
On assignment. Yeah. Labels and
Stickers.
Stickers. Yeah. Packaging. Right.
Yeah, right. That's what he calls it, packaging. He's not here, so we can talk trash. Yeah, man. So what are we covering today? We'll talk about the weather. I think something a lot of people don't consider, or it's like the last thing you consider when you're doing packaging, right? The dryness, the humidity, and then shipping packaging globally. The things you've got to consider, and the things that can go wrong when you don't take into account, the environmental impact on packaging. Right. And then we got a couple shows coming up. You got
ProMat coming up in Chicago next Monday, Tuesday. It's also going to be St. Patrick's Day in Chicago, which will be interesting. They'll turn the river green.
Nice. Yeah, I think it'll be St. Patrick's Day everywhere.
Yeah.
But what's up, Brandon? Yeah. So we'll get started here in a second. Let's talk about humidity. Let's talk about the weather.
Love that intro.
Right. It's a good time.
Yeah.
So, all right, man. So weather. Does packaging get impacted? Chris, I love you, but no.
Somebody's got to stick up for Adam when he's gone. I spent the first 5 years of my career at Weyerhaeuser, a corrugated mill making boxes. And we turned paper into corrugated, and the humidity of the building would affect the outcome of the boxes. And so the people on the corrugator would have to adjust certain, the way the air flowed, put on fans and all kinds of things like that, because if boxes were too humid or too moist, they would warp. And that was a major issue with corrugated.
With corrugate.
Yeah.
Right. That's what they call it, corrugate.
Yeah.
Back then.
Not cardboard. Yeah.
So, all right. So it would warp, right? And that's like the sheets that you would make.
Right. And if it was too dry, it could delaminate. That was another issue. So there's a fine line of the right amount of moisture in corrugated as it goes through the machine. And there's other chemicals, starch and things like that. But I think you're right. And it affects long term as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Like I don't know. Like so talking about delamination, right? So having produced packaging that's like for summer. Right, like something that's going to launch in summer, right? Where it's drier, you've got a little bit less humidity across the country. It does get pretty humid down here in Florida. But having produced some, and it was supposed to be like a quick launch, in, out, done, packaging, gone in, a matter of weeks for this specific launch. Did it, launch went well, packaging didn't move as quickly as they thought it was going to be. So they kind of bled into fall and a little bit of winter when you get rains, all these different things that tend to happen, and all of a sudden, like closures weren't coming together properly. And this is stuff that had sat through summer, so it went through like a dry period, and then as you start absorbing some of that moisture, it starts swelling in different places. And it's not visible, like you don't see the board swelling, but you do see like that twisting and warping, and all of a sudden things don't line up properly.
And then they come to you and say, "Hey, these boxes are bad."
These boxes from a year and a half ago.
Yeah, right.
Holding up.
And you say, well, packaging has a shelf life, and that's an interesting thing to a lot of people. They don't understand that. They don't realize, corrugated especially, but chipboard and other materials, labels need to be stored at certain temperatures, at certain moisture levels. Otherwise, they could be worthless.
Yeah. So when you say packaging has a shelf life, give me an example. What would you say a standard shelf life is going to be for corrugated like RSC boxes?
Well, I think it depends, which is the
Mhm.
right answer to most questions. But I think
Yeah.
I've seen boxes go bad in 6 months, and I've seen
Mhm.
boxes be good for 2 years. So it
Yeah.
depends on where they are. In Oregon, where I live, it's pretty humid all the time. It's wet here. It
Yeah.
rains a lot, and as you're in Arizona, it's desert. It's pretty consistent, although temperatures go from high to low
Yeah.
daily. So
Yeah.
I
No,
think,
and in winter, you get into freezing to, to 70s. Like
yeah.
you can fluctuate that much in a day in Arizona. And that's enough to dry out a board, delaminate any type of
Mhm.
glue, right? If you're using like a hot melt glue, like that stuff also expands and contracts, and then that stuff separates. Right? And these are all the things that when you're designing packaging, you've got to consider. It's like I'm not
Mhm.
buying for 2 years. I'm buying for some kind of a in, first out kind of a rotation.
Right. And I think machine operators that
Mhm.
create packaging have gotten to understand that and
Mhm.
understand that packaging needs to be able to handle that kind of variance. Um, of course, things like plastic, it doesn't really matter that much unless it gets wet or moldy. We've seen things like that happen.
Yeah.
Where water leaks or there's a flood or something like that, and you know, even plastic can go bad in that kind of an environment.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know it depends, but like, what would you say is a good answer for corrugate? Let's say, so it kind of depends too. Yeah, it
Hmm.
depends. Depends on the construction, right? In RC, you've got like one glued seam. If it's
Hmm.
like, like a rolled edge box, and there's no glue on there,
Yep.
but you still can get warping. You still can get that, and it depends on warehousing. Is it temperature controlled?
Hmm.
Overall humidity, like how are they packed? Are they palletized and you know shrink wrapped? Are they in all those things impact it. But if boxes can go bad in 6 months or last for 2 years, do
Yeah.
you kind of split the difference, or are you on the safe side and like, we kind of need to move these within six
I
months?
think on the safe side is a better idea. Your
Hmm.
corrugated may cost more because you're not running 2 years worth, but it's
Hmm.
also gives you that out in case something changes. Oftentimes we'll see corrugated bins and hexacomb, things like that, stored outside because they're so big.
Yeah.
They'll be on the dock on the back, at the back of the warehouse, and if they get rained on at all, sometimes rain comes in at angles and can hit those things. It can totally be incredibly damaging to those
Hmm.
materials.
Yeah. And I think just being on the safe side is definitely important.
Yeah.
Um, but so, all right. So if you're buying packaging, ask about shelf life. And I know like for us, when we sell packaging, you can buy 2 years worth of packaging, right? Like you can contract that length of time, but we're not producing 2 years worth of packaging, right? It's like, all right,
Right.
you're committing to this much packaging that you're going to use in 2 years, and then we're going to roll it out, right? That way you're locking in pricing, we're locking in raw materials. Like you can kind of schedule all these things out, but you're buying that amount. If somebody's trying to sell you a lot of packaging and kind of hand it over to you, that's kind of a red flag.
Yeah. You want a good partnership that where it's safe, and you're exactly right. Where somebody could pivot and say, "Oh, we don't, hold those back for another 3 months. We're not ready yet." Or
Yeah.
I think companies should focus on making their products in their warehouses and not storing packaging.
So, all right, dude. So I want to show you this thing
Yeah.
that is popping up on Reddit and TikTok, which is the dishwasher conspiracy. No, it's let me see if I can get this thing back up again. Uh, People are eating packing peanuts on TikTok,
Oh no.
like regular packing peanuts. They are, and there's this guy here who's, I guess, I don't know what you'd call him,
Those are the starch-based ones, I'm assuming.
I would assume so, but but he's trying all different types. That looks like the starch-based one, the way that it was squished at the end. But they're seasoning them with like popcorn seasoning, right? Ranch dressing and all these different things.
That's not safe. Not a good idea. Although I've heard that they use the same machine that like Cheetos Puffs uses.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, it's made on the same kind of equipment, but the ingredients aren't,
near as good.
No. And certainly don't eat the styrofoam ones. The polystyrene is not safe to eat. Do not eat those.
Yeah. Gee, it's totally nuts. Yeah, but I like, here's the thing is that people don't know, right? If you're not in packaging, you don't know what the hell packing peanuts are made out of.
No.
So you see somebody eating packing peanuts, seasoning them, and every kid wants to get on this whatever stupid trend, Tide Pods. They're not investigating; they're just eating packing peanuts.
Well, I even used to kind of cringe when I would see a corrugated box, pizza box without a liner in it. They're not all that clean. Depends on the facility they came from. My cousin and I both worked at Weyerhaeuser making boxes, and we used to joke about looking for footprints in the in the boxes. It wasn't a common thing, but and of course the attempt is to be as clean as possible. Yeah, gluten-free for sure, Gene. All packaging is gluten-free to my knowledge.
Yeah, so let's ruin pizza boxes, Corey. So the idea is, I wouldn't eat, like, if I'm at a box facility, and cardboard goes through the process, corrugated board goes through the process of getting cut, die cut, printed, comes out on the end of the machine. Like, I wouldn't put my food on there and then consume it. But
no, we really encourage liners, for pizza boxes or other food items that go into corrugated. Now, there are caveats to that. There are coded.
Do you have to be a food safe facility to make pizza boxes?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a bakery, approval process. There's food safe, which we were. We were really proud of being clean and healthy, but it was just kind of.
No, I'm not saying that your place was dirty, but just like the idea, like, even there, like having this thing come through the machine.
Well,
I would be like, oh, let me put my pizza on.
think of the opening to our show where the boxes are shooting out of that machine. That's not an uncommon thing overseas or even in other areas of the world. And or you see plastic cups all over the floor, and people sitting on the floor and packing them and touching them with their hands without gloves on. Packaging is, you got to be aware of where it comes from and who's making it for you. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I've been some crazy places and seen some crazy things for sure.
Me too.
But even here in the States, right? That's just like, even here.
Yeah.
So, all right. So you're heading to a show.
Yeah. Next Monday, ProMat, I'll be speaking with the team from Ranpak about automation equipment that they've got launching some incredible things, including paper stretch film or stretch wrap, which is a direct replacement for plastic stretch film, which is really exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And then some automation equipment and semi-automation equipment, which I think is really where a lot of people end up because they're not ready to fully automate their entire line.
Mm-hmm. So then, all right, so you got a lot of automation happening there. Mm-hmm. Who should be going to the show?
Anybody that runs a warehouse, anybody that runs a production facility, or possibly purchasing agents. I think. Or people like you and me who are just in the industry and curious about what's the latest in packaging. I think you're going to see a lot of innovation. People will be launching their latest and greatest in the newest packaging systems and machines. I think you're going to see a lot of right sizing equipment, which is awesome.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to show you something. I'm going to pull this thing up because this thing is crazy. This is not something that's live. It's not, um, it's a test product. Doing a lot of the stuff that I'm doing with different companies, different AI companies. I get a chance to see some pretty cool things. So this is, hang on here. I'm gonna see how I can share this best.
And Chris,
I know
we
this
didn't
wasn't
mean
it.
to make you worry. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There's a whole new thing to worry about pizza boxes for
Mhm.
sure. All right, so check this thing out.
Most of them are very, very clean.
I'm not gonna go into presentation mode. I'm just gonna show what I got here. You see my screen? What do you see?
Yes.
What do you see?
Two
All right.
pictures of babies.
All right. So when it comes to AI, this is not my baby, but this is this used to be on the NVIDIA website, right? So the left is a picture, and the right takes AI and allows it to rotate this. This picture was on the NVIDIA website about 3 years ago. Right? So immediately, the first thing I thought of was like, all right, how can this be used? And I talked about all up and down the place, about like what the future of this looks like. And a lot of people that would be in the audience were like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to use that. I don't think it's going to make a big difference in packaging design. Then, have you seen
Yeah.
this?
I have.
Right?
It's crazy.
So it's really using the same idea. It's not perfect.
Yeah.
All right. You can see it's filling in some random things that come and go.
Yeah, he's got one wheel instead of two. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, it's funky, kind of blends them in. But the concept here is like that the ability to take something and rotate it is huge. Now, how does this relate to packaging? So I don't do 3D. I don't do CAD or Keyshot or those cool rendering programs. I just use a lot of sketching, right? So if I'm hand sketching something like this, if I want to rotate it, like these are different views of the same pack, I have to like draw it. But now if I were to take this and run it through that same program, it rotates it. It's not perfect. It's nowhere near perfect.
But it's a huge step, right?
It's a giant step, right? Of like where this can go.
Incredible.
And I think that's like something we all have to be aware of. Like just because you're seeing something on TikTok or on Instagram, like these little apps and these little things, it's like how do they apply to your day to day, like your workflow, right? And there's doesn't have to be like these image things. There could be different things like there's bots that'll automatically fill in your comments, that'll automatically like things that are hashtag a certain way, right? Can you use that stuff for sales? Can you use that stuff to respond, like autoresponders? Esco's doing a ton of stuff. These guys are doing some amazing things with AI. Like you can design your packaging, you can quote things. It'll take averages on materials and costs and all these things, and you can compare. You can do LCAs in here, like carbon footprint.
Incredible.
So pretty cool things that they got going on. You mentioned Ranpak, like this thing that they've got. I can't remember what this is called.
Yeah, it's called the Decision Tower. Yeah,
that's what it is.
It's incredible. They're going to be showing that at the ProMat show, and it uses vision learning, AI, technology to figure out how much void fill is needed for the box. I think this is one of the big. Yeah, it reduces it almost every time because oftentimes packers will overfill or worse, underfill.
Right, because you'll get damage.
Then you get damage. So there's nothing sustainable about damaged goods, right? Even if you're using less material, saving money on the front end, you're going to lose it on the back end because your customer's upset and all those things. But it's an incredible step forward. And they're up for huge awards with this technology for sustainability, and so I think AI is becoming a huge win for sustainable packaging.
Yeah, no, and I see this like, all right, like what, like this is step one, right? Like if we look at AI, and what it's doing, it's taking the combination of the different products that are fitting into this box, calculating the best pack out, and then calculating the amount of void fill that's required. So like, where else could you use this? I know, like, I do a ton of size audits for brands where they're like, let's look at our product offering versus the packaging we have. How can we condense things? How can we recalculate? And right now it's pretty manual, right? I mean, aside from using ChatGPT to build me an Excel document and then calculate averages, it's pretty manual. But like this, if I could take dimensions on, say, 200 SKUs and then develop
Right.
5 right size packs, like that,
Exactly.
that's where I see this going.
And you can use it for EPR reporting. You can this data becomes yours and or your customers forever. And I think that's an incredible win for the future of their packaging needs, because they're going to figure out they'll be able to purchase packaging based on these numbers. They'll be able to plan their corrugated size changes. Maybe if they cut a ½ inch off of the length of every box, they would save 10%. You know, things like this are massive.
Yeah, and that's where it's going. And Chris, 100%. Neo from Adobe can rotate and adjust those. And that, again, it's like, that's where things are going, right? So if I can just pencil sketch, take a picture, and then rotate it, like, how quick is that to be able to be in front of someone?
Awesome.
And do that, right? What's up, Wasim? The other thing, like, this is from a few years ago also. This is the team over at Pactora. I love showing this. Like, this is, a talk box. But let's say you've got this design and you want to do 10 other products, right? You want to pick 10 other designs or structures. Like, you can go in here, click all the structures that you want, and it automatically calculates the dimensions based on the original one, and then lays everything out on the die lines. If your first file is press ready,
how long would that have taken?
It's press ready afterwards.
Before, how long? A week,
Oh, yeah. At least I know an agency, Chicago agency, that staffed 10 people to do just this, to do versioning. Yeah. Like, they launched this department, which all they did was do versioning, and it was a huge thing. And then when I showed them this, they're like, "Holy crap! We just staffed 10 people, and this thing just did what 10 people do in a matter of seconds." Right. And that's where this is going. This isn't live and available, but I think someone can build this pretty quickly.
Right. You still need those people today, but in the future, they'll be able to do other things.
Yeah. Like, this is the Neo from Adobe. All right. So you can, like, quickly build out some 3D stuff, put in some prompts, and then, this guy's a little slower, but you get these renderings, these images that are pretty quick. There's just a lot of really cool things that are happening out there, and I don't know. I'm pretty excited. About all this stuff.
It's a bright future for packaging and packaging design and in innovations. It's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, everything down to the most boring aspect of packaging, right? Palletizing, doing a TOPS diagram, maximizing container loads, like AI, like, basically you're doing the same thing that Ranpak's system's doing, but just for a container, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And huge cost savings. I mean, we've calculated those numbers using that TOPS system and the Ranpak system. It's incredible savings for companies.
Yep.
And you don't have to buy anything. You don't have to test anything. It's all automated.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's fast, and it gives you some options. And, again, fashion is definitely using AI in the design side. Like, I think at this point, it doesn't matter what part of the industry you're in, whether you're on the waste side of it, the design side of it, or anywhere in between, you've got to be looking at what's happening in AI, and it doesn't have to be specific to your particular area. So if you're on the waste side, you shouldn't be just focused on, what's happening in the waste area. Like, look at everything, right? So, like, the NVIDIA image, what's happening on TikTok, like, those things, you can connect those dots and bring them back to packaging. It's like, how can I use those things and make that, work into my process?
I remember one of the first meetings you and I had, you talked about how you got inspiration from all over the place, not just packaging, but you got inspiration from the fashion industry and from all industries, because you want to be fully rounded in your thought process. And I thought that was really insightful.
Yeah, I'd say the last place I look for inspiration is packaging.
Yeah.
Because if I'm just looking at packaging and
Then you're just
inspired by
copying
it,
other
you'll
people. Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
you'll see that in the result of what I create. So I'd rather just be completely fresh in packaging and look at, you know, everything from, you know, automotive design, architecture,
Yeah. Music.
sculpture.
Yeah. Everything. Yeah.
Yep. And
Yes.
Francisco said, yeah, there's a program to provide that, which, you know, I know a lot of people use Tops.
Mhm.
They don't love it, but it works. Right.
Yeah. If you get Triac and SpecRite, they also come
Hmm.
with Tops usually. So you can put in all your data, and then you can ask it to create a palette layout, stacking
So
pattern.
if you get Triac, you get Tops.
They are all integrated. Yes, they're all
Oh,
SAP.
really?
Yeah. So SpecRite has Lorax, yes, it has Lorax too, but Triac and Tops in it. So you can, once all your data's in there, you can just ask it to output you a stacking pattern, and what's the most efficient stacking pattern, and what if we change this dimension? What would it do? Or even ask it to do that for you and say, here's what I'm shipping. Make me the most efficient box and create it the most efficient stacking pattern. It's incredible.
That's really awesome.
And that can be for a shipping container, or for a truck, or for a pallet. It's all the things. And you can put in which kind of shipping, you know, are you using a high top or a basic or a 24-foot, or, you know, I don't know the exact dimensions, but
yeah, there's a million different combinations, and these are all the things that as a designer you don't consider.
right.
But I think if you do and you understand all these different steps, it makes you that much stronger of a designer, right? If I can come to you and design something amazing and you love it, but I can come back to you and be like, you know, if we shave half an inch off of here, you can fit this many more in a pallet, this many more in a container, you're going to save this much more. I'm delivering that much more value, like financial, visible value to the brand versus like, this is going to grow your, you know, this is going to sell X. Right. It's like, you can sell this, but you can save this and increase your margin. Like, you know, all those little pennies count.
And a lot of those programs even have the rules of Costco's palletization in them. So you could say, this is for Costco, pack it out, because they have limits to the number of units on a pack or a pallet, and it must be shoppable, 4 sides, things like that. You know all that stuff.
Yeah. So no, that's awesome, man. This was a good conversation. I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys joining us. Let us know where I know we're kind of wrapping this up, but let us know where you're listening from. Wasim, where are you at? And Brandon, where are you today? And anybody else that's listening, Francisco, where are you at? Like, we want to know. We want to see how far this reaches. Do us a favor. If you know someone in packaging that should be watching the show, tag them in the comments, because we want to see everyone showing up here and asking their questions. And let's just build this community.
We appreciate you.
All right, guys.
Thank you all.
Absolutely. Let's wrap this up. We'll see you guys.